EasyDNS is the Swiss Army knife for your domain names, helping meet their customers' individual needs since 1998. EasyDNS has been an outspoken critic of SOPA and CISPA. EasyDNS was an early supporter of Bitcoin, and now they are proud to sponsor this show. Do business with a company that shares your values. Get a 13% discount when you pay with Bitcoin. Go to bitcoin.easydns.com and be sure to use discount code LTB. Stephanie Murphy from Let's Talk Bitcoin. I'm here at the Inside Bitcoin's New York City conference, and I'm talking with Neill Miller and Jonathan Zavalos from Altcoin Labs. They also started the first Altcoin meetup. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Altcoin Labs, I want to talk about that, but first tell me about the altcoin meetup that you started up. Why altcoins?
Well, generally speaking, I got into Bitcoin back in 2011 as a miner, and I was just kind of like interested in it.
As a miner?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Not a big time miner, no, nothing like that. But anyways, so as the years went by, like I actually didn't hear about Litecoin until at some point last year, probably around April. And then I just got fascinated by it, and then I heard of Feathercoin and some of these older coins, Peercoin and stuff, and I just thought that was much more interesting personally than Bitcoins themselves.
Why were those more interesting than Bitcoin?
Well, because, all right, so I'm kind of a nerd. I like Bitcoin a lot. I think the technology is amazing, but it felt kind of slow paced. I know that's crazy to say because Bitcoin's extremely fast paced, but compared to altcoins, and I felt like the communities of the different altcoins were coming out in different ways, and I almost liked the different attitudes, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we started up the meetup in Chicago, it started in, late September. And, basically from there, in late September, Dogecoin was released, and it completely, changed the landscape. People kind of, went from this very serious, cryptocurrency, blockchain, Bitcoin to, playful Shiba Inu, meme on a coin. So I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was awesome. Altcoins made that possible.
Right. And had you been interested in Bitcoin too, Jonathan?
Oh yeah, definitely. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2011. I became a miner, not a Bitcoin miner, but a Litecoin miner in early 2013. So, basically my logic was Bitcoin is no longer GPU mineable. So the derivative is going to be the next thing that's very successful. And sure enough, Litecoin was extremely successful.
Yeah, so I'm hearing a little bit of you want to be involved with something from the very beginning, and something that feels exciting and has a lot of energy surrounding it, and perhaps Bitcoin has moved beyond that point a little bit, and so altcoins are where it's at for you guys. Is that right to say?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I mean, the other thing about altcoins is just that truly they are really alternative, so there's different innovations happening. I think, Dogecoin, of course, was just kind of a joke, and it kind of blew everyone's mind, though, because, people seriously are using it for stuff. There's actually high volumes of trades on it. So, I mean, just different aspects, it draws people in, and it just seems that there's a lot more questions to be answered, and I think it also makes it a little bit more fun. Bitcoin's a little intimidating, I think, to some people, not to me in particular, but I just think that some new people coming into it, it's sort of...
To add on to that as well, I feel like altcoins provide a niche. They provide consistent innovation. Now, granted, all these altcoins can exist. There's thousands of altcoins kind of created in the market. Some of them are complete clones, but, the few that are very innovative, basically gain value within market cap, within community. And, you see this kind of innovation backed by, BTCs, essentially. And people gain confidence, in market share and community.
So, Jonathan, you said that you had some people show up at the altcoin meetup who were kind of disinterested in Bitcoin, but they were really excited about Doge, for instance. Tell me more about that.
It's funny because one of my very good friends, Matt, he kind of worked at Micro Center. He wasn't at all interested in, Bitcoin as much as the derivatives. But what got him very excited was, Dogecoin and the community of kind of tipping. And, a lot of people kind of showed up to our meetup. just because Dogecoin was kind of like this charity coin instead of Bitcoin, where kind of people are very intimidated by, a lot of the political aspects and, the technical aspects. Dogecoin was kind of this playful, fun thing that gave charity to different organizations, kind of tipped to each other, and, they treated it as fun, and, that opened the space for so many different kinds of people coming in. So,
what altcoins got you the most excited, and why, Neill? You said that you see innovation happening in altcoins, whereas it doesn't necessarily take place at this point within Bitcoin. Which innovations are you particularly excited about?
I think what first excited me about Litecoin in general is that it sort of never really occurred to me to swap out the proof of work algorithm. And when I saw that something was actually doing it successfully and had created a whole new network of miners and basically a whole new economy, that was a really exciting idea for me. I was really into Feathercoin as well. I realized that, that they didn't necessarily change anything or necessarily innovate, but them in particular, I thought their community was just extremely exciting. So I was definitely more involved, I would say, with the Feathercoin community than Litecoin in particular. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. I mean, by the time Doge came out, it's, now to the point where altcoins are coming out every day, basically. It's hard to say on any given day what the innovations are, but generally speaking, that tweaks to the algorithms, tweaks to maybe even proof of stake versus proof of work, different smaller innovations perhaps, but I think that also bigger ones too, like the ideas of encrypted blockchains or Darkcoin or these are interesting things. I don't know how they're going to pan out, but I'm really curious, and I'm glad that somebody's doing it.
Yeah, so I would actually say I'm kind of a big analyst, and I always kind of look at Bitcoin talk to look to the new announced, kind of altcoin. And I just love doing that. I love seeing the innovation behind it. I love, for example, seeing kind of like Frodo shares, now BitShares, kind of digital autonomous corporation, kind of proposal. And another obscure coin, Hunter Coin, which basically has a game built on the whole blockchain. Every move that you can actually make on Hunter Coin is seen, through the blockchain kind of building as a ledger for these kind of moves that you've performed in an MMORPG. I feel like that lays the foundation for so many innovations.
Wow.
In blockchain. Yeah, I mean, and it's these really obscure coins that people just don't know about. And I feel like they're going to refine the blockchain. They're going to create their own market shares. And in the end, they're going to be worth significant value, significant within whatever niche they kind of fulfill.
What do you think makes an altcoin stand out? There are just so many altcoins now. What do you think defines a successful altcoin from the ones that fail?
There definitely are so many. I would say community is a really big one. Dogecoin taught me that. I would say that technical innovation is another. Even just the shift over to Litecoin, that was the first one. There's a lot of new algorithms coming out too, like the X11 and stuff like that. These things are I think that they're a big deal, but they're also somewhat incremental steps. So it's hard to pinpoint it on any one thing. It's sort of a combination of everything, just like, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is pieced together by all kinds of different cryptographic ideas, but basically everything fell into place properly. And the timing is right where people are actually interested in it, and it's taking off. So
I would agree with Neill, in the sense that it really depends on the type of niche that it fulfills. It depends on, I always call it market demand, right? Cryptocurrencies, I think there is a market demand. I would actually argue with Dogecoin, there was a market demand. I mean, people probably felt like it was, Bitcoin was too serious. The market was getting spammed with all these, script coins that they didn't like and they didn't believe in. So people mined Dogecoin. I know I did, to be ironic and funny, and sure enough, ironically and funny enough, it's now a serious kind of currency, so the joke's kind of being played on, not even on us. It's awesome,
It's just a joke.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's just a joke, it's just, it's an evolving joke, and it's great. I think it's awesome, and it really depends on the niche at the time, so that's what I would say.
Yeah, cool. So what goes on at an altcoin meetup? What do people talk about, and do people have projects that they're working on, or is it more just a social kind of event?
Generally speaking, so far, it's just largely been discussion. We're trying to form a base of sort of regular members, and we do have a fair number at this point. later, actually, in mid-June, we're actually hoping to do an event where we can bring in some of the devs or external influences, sort of, and basically host sort of a big event. So I'm sure we'll have to talk to you more about that later on as it gets closer and we have more details to it. But yeah, that's sort of, we're looking towards promoting something almost like a mini conference / workshop.
Yeah, I think it's the big thing is, the devs. We want to essentially put a face to the coin. I think the biggest problem in the altcoin market is trust, right? IPO coins, right? You don't know whether or not these people are going to take your Bitcoins, honestly. Just so much funding and so many kind of changing things, it's overwhelming. So we kind of want to refine that and, say, hey, this person's kind of trustworthy. They're in this market. They've built this. And this is their product. This is their coin. We just want to refine that.
Have you ever thought about maybe putting out or defining a set of best practices for new altcoins, or a kind of vetting process for new altcoins to just look for red flags when they first start before people start investing in them?
I think that's a really interesting thing. We definitely have our own opinions on that. We tend not to publicize them, at least yet, because some of the coins that we had criticisms about are actually doing pretty well, at least for now, or have done better than we originally thought. For example, some coins appear to have like a strong lack of developers, which we think is a really bad thing for a coin. And then it turns out, for some reason, the community, the developers come later, And I think that's a really important thing. So really, time can only tell. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to really put out hard and fast guidelines, I guess.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, there's proof of stake, proof of work. There's IPO coins, and there's script coin X11. SHA 256. The landscape is constantly changing. Honestly, to put a set of guidelines, it's not only is it difficult, but it would just be a little bit arrogant of us to kind of put that out there. And I really think that it depends, again, on the community. It depends on what the niche demand is during that moment, what the market demands, the type of innovation people push forward. I would actually say Dogecoin has pushed an innovation. That innovation is community. It defined a coin through donations and, community and kind of being trustworthy and nice. I think that's awesome.
It sounds like an exercise in open-mindedness. Would you say this has kind of expanded your boundaries or a little bit in terms of the way that you think about what a coin should be?
We all know there's so many coins, and I hear about new ones all the time, and sometimes my first reaction is also that these new coins that I hear about is a joke. Again, and jokes sometimes work, apparently. So, it's just definitely opened my mind. It's hard to take anything too seriously until some time has actually passed. So we really just need to watch the coins the best that we can.
Yeah, I think one of the big advantages that I've always had in the altcoin space was that I was always open-minded. I always thought, that derivatives are going to be stronger in some way. They're always going to push innovation. Working on Bitcoin, you're working on a $5 billion project. You don't want to kind of, mess anything up. You don't want to do an extreme change. With altcoins, it gives a space to kind of experiment that has its good and bads to it, just like an open market. It's a double-edged sword, but in the altcoin space, I feel like it's a completely wonderful double-edged sword.
In order for altcoins to grow and to get adopted by more people and used by more people, do you think that there are certain things that need to happen, like multi-currency wallets or just infrastructure for different altcoins or anything like that? Or do you not really have that kind of agenda? Are you just kind of getting people together and then seeing what grows out of that?
Yes, I think that there's a big development problem. That's not currently our focus now. We are more focused on just trying to get people sort of exposed to the different altcoins and the landscape, and then they can sort of see where their place fits. I am a developer myself, but at least that's not where I've been thinking of putting my talents. I look at things like multichain.net, and it's really neat because you can have a ton of different wallets, but then again, you can kind of do that in exchanges, and then there's the trust question. Do you trust any of these? And personally, no, I don't. So, I think just basic security as a whole, even for Bitcoin, just needs to keep improving. And I think it will over time. So altcoins will benefit from any of the innovations anywhere, and Bitcoin will also benefit from any of the altcoin infrastructure developments.
not only that, I think the bigger thing is to have a completely agnostic payment processing system where you could actually send Dogecoin, Litecoin, whatever, scan this QR code, right? It would automatically be recognized by the system, just kind of compare hashes, and then, it would accept Doge, Lite, Bitcoin. I think that would be huge.
Sure. And the receiver could receive it, and the receiver could receive it in basically the currency of their choice too. That would be truly amazing from a usability standpoint.
I think true decentralization is within multiple blockchains. With multiple blockchains, there is more possibilities, niches that can be fulfilled. There's innovations that can be pushed forward.
So tell me a little bit about Altcoin Labs, which is your company that you're both working on together. What is it?
We sort of formed out of Altcoin Chicago, so we basically found that a lot of people actually that are interested in this kind of stuff, but we also are at a point in our lives where we realize our time is sort of valuable too, and we want to teach everyone everything, and we can talk all day about anything, but we're trying to see if we can actually sort of focus, and putting on things like a workshop or whatever, basically costs money, and we're looking into sort of finding a way to monetize or find a balance between our education goals and basically just trying to figure out a good, convenient way for people to learn and for us to do what we need to do in a unending discussion section.
Adding on to what Neill said, Altcoin Chicago does fit within a certain niche, and sometimes the information can be completely overwhelming. Basically, what we want to do is kind of, go back to basics. What is a miner? What is the blockchain? How do you build a miner? What does this computer do? I feel like adoption is kind of critical in education, and I feel like that's kind of being ignored. People want to kind of reach out to these companies and have who's going to be the next kind of payment processor, who's going to accept Bitcoin next. And I think the biggest thing that they're ignoring is consumer education. Who is kind of back their dollars with something that's completely abstract. It just I feel like Altcoin Labs is going to fill that niche.
So have you done any of that yet, educating people about how to set up miners? I think you mentioned something about that, Jonathan.
Right. Yeah, actually we do have an event kind of planned at Free Geek Chicago. So Free Geek Chicago is a non-for-profit org over in Chicago that does basically recycling. They actually, take in computer parts from, big corporations, and they repurpose them with Ubuntu and, distribute them, according to the volunteer hours that a person's kind of worked there. So it's, kind of an open source culture, and, we feel like, them kind of, it's the easiest kind of people to kind of talk about with, when it comes to Bitcoin and GPU mining and, kind of building a computer, because these people that are there, they're kind of thirsty to kind of, learn about computers, learn about Ubuntu, learn about open source systems. And, we feel that Altcoin Labs and, presentation of the blockchain and altcoins, can definitely make a benefit from that.
Cool. Anything else you guys want to add?
Basically, check out our meetup. We're at meetup.com/altcoinchicago, and Altcoin Labs is at altcoinlabs.com.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.